What's up, you guys? I'm Anya.
And I'm Kylie, and this is 2 Degrees Hotter.
The Post-Grad podcast where we get real about life after college every Tuesday.
So kind of on the same note, I'm curious, for those of us who weren't lucky enough to have something like Girl Powerful, how can we work to retrain ourselves and start that journey towards a stronger sense of self?
I think just start, right? So don't make it a huge laundry list of things to do. Write 3 things you want to change. And I mean, be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone can grow. Change is growth, right? So it doesn't have to be a negative thing. Like, I don't like this about myself. Just be like, I would like to blankety blank. And then just make a small short-term goals. Like, especially like in a pandemic, you can't really make huge, big, hairy, audacious goals that you don't know what the world's going to look like in 6 months. So I'd say make some short-term goals, make 3 short-term goals and do them and hold yourself accountable, commit to it. Tell someone. Yeah. And I think you just do it. Like, you have to figure out how to work with yourself on this planet. Like, no one else cares what you're doing. No one else is going to be your cheerleader. Like, you need to tune into who you are and where your power is, and that's inside you. And you need to move on and move forward, and you can. So I'd say short-term goals. What about you?
Well, I would say we have 2 tools
Yeah.
that I think are great for Gen Zers. So we do have a Girl Powerful journal. It looks like this, and it teaches. It has 40 pages, and it's an interactive workbook. So basically, like, you can learn how to brain dump. You can, the pages are like creating your core values, self-love, self-worth, and everything has little exercises that you can do to flex these muscles. Talks about happiness and being grateful, being smart, all that stuff. And that's like, you could do that like so simple. So one day a week, you're like, oh, let me do a page in the Girl Powerful journal. And then it really gets you thinking about your own personal development.
And if it's hard at first, just sit with that and say why.
Yeah.
And then try again 5 minutes later and try to answer that question. And again, be honest with yourself. And if you can only write one nice thing about yourself, then that's awesome, and celebrate that. And then tomorrow try to write 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see it all the time in girls and women of all ages. It is hard to compliment yourself. It is hard to be vulnerable. And it's just hard to, say I need help or I need to change. So it's okay. Everyone's going through it. And everyone's just at a different stage in the journey.
Right.
Well, I wish that. Oh, sorry.
I know. Anya, what?
I was going to say, I wish that everyone listening could see the journal in person like we are, because it has the cutest graphic. So definitely go check that out. I assume that's on your website that we'll have linked.
Girl Powerful. But we also have a Girl Powerful card deck, which looks like this. And people could do this like on their own. They can make up their own, but it's all based on positive self-talk. So when I was growing up, I would look in the mirror and I wouldn't say positive things to myself. I would say things about like my wide hips or my huge feet, and I would really beat myself up. And it's like I was like attracting my flaws instead of celebrating and being like, oh, I'm thankful and grateful for my feet that carry me around all day. So that was a big lesson for me. So we created 64 prompts that are affirmation based in the Girl Powerful card deck. So this is something that's meant to do in the mirror, or you could do it with anybody as a conversation starter. But this says like, I am connected to real moments. Turn off all technology. Spend time face to face with your family and friends. That's a prompt. Or it could be like, I am strong. Do 10 push-ups. They're all really different and they vary. But it's a way to really start using affirmations to change your mindset and to practice self-love.
And like everything we do at Girl Powerful is prevention. So we're just trying to get in front of the problems that we know exist, and they're very real and they're very scary and they're really unhealthy. And like last year, we had a family member not be healthy, and like then you change, right? So you see like, oh, I'm sick. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to die. And then you change. And it's like, why do Americans wait until that scary moment happens?
Yeah.
Like mentally or physically to get in shape, mentally or physically. So this is like getting your mind in shape to like have a positive life, because we all deserve that. We all deserve to, yeah, be our best selves and show up every day and enjoy our time here.
I love that you guys emphasize affirmations. And it's funny that, Teddy, you mentioned big, hairy, audacious goals because Kylie and I just came across that concept for the first time the other day. And it's actually on a previous episode.
Really?
Tags.
So, yeah, so funny. So you talked a little bit about this in the very intro of the episode where you kind of talked about, struggling with drinking in college or not being able to fend for yourself as a young person in the workforce. But I was curious if you had any additional advice for the college post-grad demographic when it comes to navigating mental health or their career, just any other lessons you would pass down to the majority of our listeners.
I think that the most you can put yourself out there, like I think mentors are so helpful for all of that, for networking and for your career, and then also your mental health, because as an adult, as a young adult, like you'll be seen by this older person that's done the same kind of thing that you look up to them. So having a mentor for your whole life, I think, is really important and helps you get to where you're going. And
Right.
I know that's helped me.
Yeah,
It's helped
and
me a
it's
lot.
really important to keep a social support system. So it's like we've had that, in elementary school, middle school, team sports, college, and then you graduate
That's true.
and all those people go other places. So I think it's a really important thing to, be proactive to make your own support system and,
And I think,
support others too.
yeah, and I think that goes into mentorship because you're going to be like-minded people. You're going to look at that woman or that man and be like, oh, I want to be like them.
Mhm.
And so like that's like a niche, right? So you need to find your niche. You need to find your community. You need to find your home. And it takes a minute.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like this is going to happen tomorrow, but just keep your eyes open and your ears open, and those people will show up. That's your intuition. That's like your path. Everything's already designed. You just have to be awake to enjoy like the fruits of all that stuff. You have to be not depressed and anxious and sad and scared and in your room, like obviously post COVID, but like, yeah, just be open. You have to be open and say hi to people. I think that's a really good piece of advice. Even with our masks on, like say hi, throw your hand up, like we're all so like disconnected right now. It's really scary. Sonya was doing some research like from the CDC, and 50% of our teens or young people are depressed. 50%. And that is just, that's a stat that could be really scary post COVID and like linger on for a whole lifetime. So, I mean, we all have to learn how to connect with ourselves and reconnect with each other sooner than later.
Yeah, for sure. I think especially with COVID, a lot of people are experiencing mental health challenges, and just really, especially post grad, if you're 6 months out of graduation, or I guess it's more than 6 months now for us, but less than a year out of graduation, like Anya and I, and like most of our listeners, it's really scary navigating post grad life completely virtually. Because like you said, building that social support system can feel even more impossible than it would feel, if we were in normal circumstances, because people really do feel so far away. So I think it's great that you bring awareness to that, and, reminding our listeners that you're not alone in feeling like this at all, and that this is a really great time to focus on your mental health and build that mental health toolbox. And even if it's just texting a friend and reaching out, no one's going to be mad to hear from someone who's just being genuine and nice and trying to make a connection.
I think too, like going into a career, and sounds like you guys have big careers ahead of you, is don't lose the hobbies. Like, practice law, but always have your creative, like feminine hobby that keeps you whole and like connected to your truth. And I think that's hard.
Yeah.
So with this extra time too, obviously do what makes you feel good with self-care, but also like lean into your hobby, because that's naturally going to make you feel good, and you're going to be more in tune with yourself. And as women in our feminine energy, that creativity is what grounds us and just lets your light shine a little brighter.